everyone, and welcome back to my true crime channel. I hope you're all well. Today I'm going to be discussing my thoughts and views on the latest shocking revelations in the Summer Wells case. So I'm sure you're all aware, in the last couple of days an interview has been released on mainly YouTube, given by Hunter, the 15-year-old boy that was one of the last people to see Summer Wells alive or around. He was interviewed by a retired homicide detective, and it's an extremely interesting interview as there are lots of things that have come out that none of us knew. I don't even know where to start in my video today. I'm so shocked by what I've heard. I'm a bit late to the game. I don't think I listened to it as quickly as all of you guys have because I've been busy working and doing other things this week, but I have now listened to the interview in full, and boy, am I shocked. So, as I said, where the hell do I start with this today? I mean, God, I think I might even work backwards with the interview. I'm not going to splice it into my video today, guys. I'm hoping to include it in other videos, but I just wanted to give you my initial thoughts on it today, just so I could get a video out and let you all know what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling about the case now. I think a break might be coming in the case. Now, one of the most shocking things that came out of Hunter's interview is the timeline of the day, where they went, a shop or a couple of vape sort of smoke shops, places you buy CBD oil, we call them e-shishi things. I think they're also called e-cigarettes. That kind of place was visited. That isn't really the shocking revelation. The shocking revelation is that Hunter claims to have gone through Candus's phone, looked through her deleted files, and found what he claims, and again, this is what he claims, this isn't my opinion, this is what this boy claims. He found deleted text messages to her drug dealer, so he claims, that said it was done. What was done? So, God, I still don't know where to start. I mean, I've had some questions answered. I wasn't sure whether the grandmother went to the creek. Apparently she does, but she sits in the car to start with because she's been up hospital, has a bad knee, etc. She does eventually join Hunter, Summer and her daughter Candus by the creek and was hoping to pick some flowers. So the timeline of her going to the hospital, the store, I wasn't aware of the vape shop. There are other things that have come out. It was planned that Summer was going to go swimming. It wasn't an off-the-cuff thing, which Candus led us to believe in the first interview, so that's weird. Quite the red flag. There's a lot of red flags. Not from the boy, but what I mean from what he says. There are loads of red flags. He also claims that apparently, and it's just apparently, Don's been checked up on by the TBI to see whether he was at work that day, and apparently he wasn't. Apparently there's no record of him being there, but apparently he'd taken the kids with him to work and that he'd been at work. Again, had he been at work? Hadn't he been at work? So other rumours were cleared up. A lot of people think that something was going on with the 15-year-old and Candus. Personally, I didn't necessarily think that, but a lot of people have commented on my videos and on other people's videos on YouTube that that's what they thought was going on. He said he never had any indication from Candus that she was interested in him in that way, and that he was more like her adoptive son, and that he looked like and he felt, sorry, that Summer was more like his adopted sister. So there's no weird shenanigans going on there, but what is weird is I think we all know that those two families fell out some time ago, and Candus and Hunter's mother were friends at one point. Hunter's mother has alluded that Candus apparently overstepped the line about something, but she's not said what, and they fell out. Now, Hunter said when the families fell out, he didn't really see Candus anymore. He hadn't been to the house in 1 year, a whole year. He hadn't visited the house. And on the day that she turns up at his house to say, does he want to come fishing with Summer? Not swimming, it was fishing, but it might have been swimming and fishing, but fishing certainly hadn't been mentioned before that I'm aware of. She pulls up at the house, wants to know if he wants to come. Apparently he asks his mum, but she's asleep, so he just goes anyway. Whether the mum would have wanted him to go, you know, I'm not sure. I think the children were still allowed to play with each other. It was just the grown-ups that had fallen out. We don't know over what. So he obviously goes off to go fishing with Summer and her mother and the grandmother. The grandmother has to go to the hospital. A prescription has to be picked up. A store is visited for the milk. All of these things are fine. You know, a lot of them we're already aware of. But what's weird is the fact that Candus turns up at this boy's house, having fallen out with his mother over something, we don't know what, after a whole year. Now, it's not that fishy, but it's a bit fishy that she felt the need to see him that day. And since what's happened, they've fallen out again. I don't even know if the family's properly made up, so that is really weird. And sorry if I'm rambling here a bit, guys. I haven't taken notes. I'm literally just giving you my thoughts off the top of the dome as to what I think's gone on and remembering back to what I've heard in this interview. But the thing about the drug dealer and the text message being deleted is quite shocking. Apparently that happened 2 days later after Summer goes missing. Candus turns up at the property where this boy lives and says, "What did you tell the police or the TBI? What have you told the authorities? You didn't tell them about the alcohol." Now, there were rumours that she'd been buying this boy alcohol, which is why I think maybe people thought something sexual was going on between them. Obviously, it wasn't. But she had bought alcohol. She had given him alcohol. Apparently, she'd even given him a vape pen, and he wasn't old enough, certainly not old enough to be doing either of those things living in the States. So I think that was all a bit dodgy. And apparently he didn't tell anybody about the alcohol, and Candus got a bit cross and upset and even angry with him. He said he didn't feel threatened by her, but that she certainly weren't happy if he'd given out any information she didn't want him to. I mean, really? So clearly we have all learned, I think, that there is drug abuse going on within the family. I think Candus might smoke cannabis or CBD of some kind. Not judging. Not the best if you've got children, but I'm not going to judge too much on that. It's quite widely legalised in the USA. It certainly isn't here in England, but it's certainly not a hard drug, but not the best thing to be doing if you're a parent with your little children, in my opinion. Whether there's any other drug abuse, I don't know. Lots of people have claimed that she was on hard drugs as well. She did look as though that wasn't just something that marijuana had done, in my opinion. So I do think there might be other abuse going on with drugs, but I didn't get the impression that Don was on drugs. So there's clearly abuse and neglect going on within the family, especially if one parent, at least one parent's on drugs. Can't be coherent all the time to be looking after children, so that's not good. But what's really interesting is a lot of people are now saying that Summer's going to be found this weekend because phone records have been checked now. The search of the phones, looking at the phones, the 15-year-old boy's phone hasn't even been given back yet, and he's using a family member's phone. I think he might have even said his dead granddad's phone. Anyway, all their phones have been took away. They've all been looked at, and clearly something's maybe been thrown up from that because they're now still focusing the search around the house. They must think Summer's perhaps in those woods. How she got there and what happened to her, we still don't know. So this whole thing with this boy is really weird. Not in a way that Candus wanted any relationship with him, but the fact that she hadn't seen him for quite a while. He hadn't been to her house in a year. There'd been a falling out between these two families, but suddenly on the day of Summer's disappearance, her mother turns up at this boy's house seeing if he's coming out for the day. But she was a bit weird. I don't know how old Candus is. I'm guessing she's in her 30s by the looks of her, but just saying, guessing. I don't actually know how old she is. It's not been printed that I've seen anywhere on the internet, but she's clearly not a teenage girl. I'm not sure why she was hanging around with a 15-year-old boy, but perhaps, you know, her mentality was being around young people, which there's no problem in that. And there obviously wasn't anything dodgy going on between the two of them, apart from her giving him alcohol, which she shouldn't have been doing. So I find it weird that after a year, she wanted to go and pick this boy up, go out with him for the day, and then mysteriously her daughter goes missing. It's almost as if the boy was used to be part of the story to make it look more like it was a disappearance. Even though he wasn't there when she disappeared, she apparently disappeared from the house when she's planting flowers in pots with her mother and grandmother. The grandmother planting flowers in pots when apparently this boy is now saying the grandmother really wasn't feeling very well that day. I'd said if she had a bad knee, I didn't think she would have been planting flowers, even if just in pots. I know you can sit down and do it, but if you've got knee problems, especially if you've had to go and get medication for that problem, I very much doubt you were pissing around with plant pots in the garden. Again, as always, guys, just my opinion, but none of this is adding up. There is rumours that Don was saying that there was a creeper on the property, some weird person hanging around wanting to maybe attack children, and that some other man, I don't know if it's the same man, I think it's two separate men, had been on the property because he was interested in the grandmother, some youngish man, apparently interested in a really older lady. Again, not judging, a bit strange, but so there are loads of things here that we're learning, and for me, I'm trying to get my head around them all, but what I'm now thinking, accidental death might still be plausible, but I am wondering now, and this is an awful thing to say, and I'm sorry, but I am going to say it, did Candus have a drug debt that she couldn't clear, and was Summer given to the drug dealers? Now, obviously, I really hope I'm wrong on that. I hope that Summer hasn't come to any harm, but I have heard of children being given to drug dealers to, I don't know, sell to someone, whether it be for trafficking reasons, whether it be to a family that can't have children, that don't want to adopt. I don't know, but it has happened. It's not the first time it's happened in the world or in the past. So could it be that it's something to do with the drug debt? Could it be, I don't know, that there was an accident and it was covered up and the drug dealers helped her? Seems rather unlikely, but I definitely feel now that Summer came to harm in Candus's care. I'd always felt that, but there's now this discrepancy as to whether Dawn was at work or not. Now, if she came to harm in her mother's care, I very much like to think that the three brothers were not there to witness it. So where were they? Were they with Dawn? And perhaps Dawn really was at work. We'll probably find that out in the next week or two, I would imagine, if this case is solved. And hopefully Summer is found safe and well, but it's not looking good. I mean, it's been almost 5.5 weeks now since the little girl disappeared, vanished without a trace after being missing for 2 minutes. This case has never added up to me. Everything that Hunter has said, I believe. I've got to tell you now, as a statement analyst, I don't believe that 15-year-old boy is lying. I'm not going to statement analyse his entire interview because he's 15 years old and I don't think it's appropriate. I prefer to do that for adults that have given interviews, but I will say that my gut instinct immediately after hearing the boy speak for 1 minute was that he is innocent, and I do not think that he's involved in Summer's disappearance. So a few other things that I want to go over, and God, there's quite a few, so I'm trying to remember them all off the top of my head, but there was mention of going to a water park. That's never been mentioned before. It didn't happen in the end, I think, because they had to go and get the grandmother's prescription, so it got cancelled, but initially there was a plan to go to the water park, and the plan was changed in the car by Candus to go to this creek. Now, we already knew they went to a store to buy milk because Summer's propped up against the milk in the car. But we now know that a vape shop, I think it might have even been 2, were visited. Now, that's not too dodgy. But what is dodgy is the fact that Candus goes back to this boy's house 2 days after Summer goes missing to ask, what has he told the police? What he can and can't tell the police. She then goes back to the car to get something out of the car, leaves her phone, I'm presuming, and I'm only presuming here, on a table or aside somewhere outside. And because they've got very similar mobile phones, he switches them, and while she's not looking and thinks their phone's still on the side or the table, he's having a look through. He claims that there were deleted messages, there was something deleted from Don, but he didn't have the time to look at what it was, so he says. I'm not disbelieving him here, but I just want to do that because obviously it's not me saying it, it's him. But he also says that there were deleted text messages from this drug dealer. Now, I think even the drug dealer's name is mentioned, which has been bleeped out. Obviously, I don't know what it is, and I don't want to be, putting anyone's names out here that are drug dealers. But apparently there was a message saying it's done. Now, that could have nothing or zero to do with Summer's disappearance. Could be that she's paid some money, dropped something off somewhere. I don't know, but it doesn't sound good that it was something that had been deleted after Summer's disappearance. Could it have had something to do with it? So one of the more shocking things that Hunter says, not just giving us all much more information on what happens on the day of Summer's disappearance, is that he thinks Candus is involved. Now, considering he was very friendly with her at one point, and that both the families, his family and Candus's family, were quite close, friendly, kids played together, adults were friends, the fact that he's saying he thinks she's guilty of something is quite concerning. And personally, I believe his thoughts. He said he had a gut instinct that she had something to do with it. He hasn't really given out any theories as to what or where or how, but who, he's certainly given a theory as to who he thinks is Candus. Now, he hasn't ruled out that he thinks Don's involved, but he certainly alluded to the fact that Don was not at work that day. So something else that Hunter confirms is that the milk bottles were put in the car by him. There wasn't enough room in the back of the truck for the milk bottles to go, and in order for everybody to fit in the car, all the shopping to fit in the car, that's why the milk bottles were put there. There was no sort of mention of, to keep Summer cool, but he did say that when the windows open of her mum's car, she can get a bit chilly, so that might have been why she had the coat on. She was still damp from swimming, apparently, and obviously as a little child, you can get a bit cold after swimming, especially if the weather isn't really, really hot, just sort of warm, I suppose. But I'm wondering now, was he filming that film of Summer and not the grandma? And was that, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. I guess it was the grandmother that was filming it, and it's filmed after Hunter is dropped home, because Summer is wet from swimming, so it's certainly still filmed, or well, apparently she was. I'm not there. I wasn't there, but apparently she was. So it's obviously filmed after the swim at the creek, and he's dropped home after they have swum at the creek and they've visited a couple of other stores, these vape stores and a drive-through and whatever. So after that, could he have been filming it, or was it the grandma? Now, a lot of people have said that sounds like a man's voice. Personally, I've listened to that clip over and over again, and I cannot be sure. But I do wonder, was it Hunter filming that, or was it the grandma? And I'm still not certain. Really not certain. As I'm so uncertain, please share your views. Do you think Hunter filmed that video, or do you think it was the grandma? So going back to the milk bottles, Hunter is asked by this ex-homicide detective, when was that picture taken of her against the milk bottles, and was he there? Now, he claims he wasn't, and then his mum interjects and says, well, actually, I think it was taken here, as in when he's dropped home. Perhaps the video is taken in the car while they're still on their property or they're leaving their property. So that's really interesting. Does appear maybe Hunter wasn't the one that filmed it, and maybe it was grandma after all. So something else that Hunter also claims is that Candus called him the next day. She goes to visit him at his house 2 days later, but she called him the day after Summer's disappearance to say she's at the police station and they want to do another polygraph. That leads you to believe she's done at least 2. Weird. Weird that she was ringing him. It's not like, you know, they're bestest friends. They hadn't spoken for nearly a year, their families. So why did Candus ring him from the police station? That's really worrying me. None of this case adds up. So baffled. Still so baffled. So something else Hunter then says is that the TBI told him to not have any contact with Candus, Summer's mother, that they should not be speaking while there's an active investigation, and they advised him against speaking to her. Obviously, she still tries to contact him, but he says after the phone call from the police station, any other messages he gets from her or correspondence via his phone, he ignores. His phone's then taken away by the TBI anyway, and then she comes to visit 2 days later. This is really stinking bad. I mean, this case has been pretty fishy from day one, but wow, I do not suspect the 15-year-old boy, and I know not everyone's going to agree because I know a lot of people think he's involved. Some people think the grandma done something to Summer. Again, I don't. I do wonder now if there was an accident and she fell over and was concussed and they found by the time they got home she died in the car. Or, I don't know, is there something to do with drug dealers here and that she's been given away because of a drug debt, or I don't know, drug dealers stole her from Candus? I just can't get my head around it. So confused. Something that I just wanted to say is Candus doesn't just turn up at the house unexpected. I think I might have alluded to that. That wasn't what I meant, but she does contact Hunter on his phone to say that her mother's in the hospital and does he want to meet up that day. And then he says to come to his house. So he does sort of invite her over. So I thought I'd better just let you know that if you haven't listened to the interview. But it's still weird whether she texts him or contacts him via social media to say, are you around today on the day of Summer's disappearance? When they hadn't seen each other in so long, it doesn't really add up. Why did she want to be with the 15-year-old boy that day if there'd been a disagreement between the two families, if they'd fallen out? Doesn't really add up. I keep thinking that maybe she was using the boy as a pawn to make it look more believable that Summer disappeared if he'd seen her that day and been with her. So as I've said before, there's so many shocking things that have come out in this interview. I just don't know where to start or end this video, and I'm not going to be able to cover all the things that he said, but there's so many shocking things. Something he does say is that Summer and her family and the grandma and the mum and all the brothers had recently been on a holiday, and I'm not sure if he meant Summer. I think he meant the brothers had been kicking the nan in her knee, and that she's maybe already got a fake knee, and that is what had caused the knee problems. If that's true, that's not very nice. I don't know if it's true, but it's interesting because it would give you an answer as to why the grandma had problems with the knee, and that's how they'd occurred. Now, going back to the grandma, something that is quite comical is Hunter, in front of his own grandmother and mother, says that Summer's grandmother is quite controlling, quite grumpy, and like most grandmas. His grandma takes it quite well considering she sat there. I did find that quite amusing. I mean, he's only 15 years old and he seems to have quite a good sense of humour. I know this isn't a funny situation, but I found it funny that he said that about the grandma. So that could leave some people to believe that the grandma did something to hurt Summer, but just because she's grumpy, a lot of old people are grumpy. You know, a lot of grandparents are seen as grumpy. So that doesn't mean that they're killers or murderers. So going back to Candus going to Hunter's house 2 days after Summer disappeared, something she does definitely ask him, not just what did you tell the police, what timeline did you give the police? Why would you be asking that? If you've got no guilty knowledge of your daughter's disappearance, why would you be asking a boy that had been with you that day but not there when she disappeared from your house what timeline he gives the police? Surely the truth is what he gives the police. So I didn't think this case could get any more bizarre, but it gets more bizarre by the day. I mean, I just can't get my head around what's happened to Summer now. And if phone records have been checked and there are discrepancies about whether Donald was or was not at work that day, it's all going to be being looked at. It's all going to be being weighed up and evaluated by the TBI and the local police in Hawkins County where this has occurred, and personally I do think there's going to be a break in this case in the next week or two. I really hope Summer Wells is found safe and alive, but it's not looking good. It's been 5 weeks. Clearly Candus has been behaving extremely weirdly, not just because she's on drugs, but where this 15-year-old boy is concerned. I mean, ringing him from the police station, that's really weird. I mean, a lot of people think Hunter is involved. Personally, I don't. I don't detect any deception from his statement whatsoever, whereas I do from Candus, and I did from the very first interview. I was never certain on Don. I always got the impression they both had guilty knowledge, but that Candus had, say, maybe more than Don, and perhaps it had been an accident that was covered up, that Don just helped covered up, but he wasn't there and had no part in it, as in he wasn't the neglectful parent. But then if he covered up the death, if it was an accidental death, clearly they're both extremely neglectful parents. But I can't get my head around this case. I'm so baffled. It's been extremely fascinating being able to keep your eye on it on a daily basis with all the videos that are coming out on YouTube. Seems as though the internet, especially YouTube, is obsessed like me with this case, and it's great that there are so many channels on YouTube covering this, because I've really enjoyed watching other people's videos. And I think the guy that did the interview, the ex-homicide detective, is an extremely interesting guy. His channel is called The Interview Room, so go and check it out, guys, because I've subscribed today. I think he's fantastic. I think he dealt with that interview really well. I think he dealt with Hunter very well. I think he's got a very nice rapport and a way about him. His mannerism is really nice. I just thought he was a nice man. He's clearly trying to get to the bottom of what happened to Summer. From what I can gather, the TBI and perhaps the police as well have advised Hunter and his family not to speak to the local press, any international press, which I found interesting. Perhaps that's why we've got no news about it in my country, in England, on the local television stations and on the radio and in our newspapers, because Summer's story has just disappeared from here. Well, as much as Summer's story has disappeared in the UK press, she certainly hasn't disappeared from my heart. That little girl is on my mind every day, wondering where she is. She's such a cute little girl. Where could she be? What's happened to her? It makes my skin go cold just thinking about it. I do think she's come to harm, and I'm sorry to say that. Again, as I always say in my videos, guys, it's just my opinion. I hope she hasn't come to harm, but it's really not looking good, is it? Something else that Hunter said is that apparently a tip was given to the TBI, maybe something to do with something that was said on Facebook, and also something was posted on Facebook about a $25,000 reward for Summer's safe return, or for any information on her case, on her disappearance. Apparently Candus got word of that and was seen by someone Hunter knows, I think he actually said his girlfriend's mum, driving in her car, speeding towards the police station in Hawkins County. Why would she be speeding there just because some reward had been offered? Surely that's a good thing. It almost got the impression she seemed upset and angry about it. And I also got the impression from Hunter, and it's not good, that he thinks Candus is not out looking for a daughter and is sat at home trying to make money out of it. Why would you want to make money out of your daughter's disappearance? I don't get that. If you have got a fund for her, wouldn't you be using that for searches, for getting her case out across the world, across the country of America, across all those states in that massive country that is America? I can't understand it. I mean, apparently she's got a new car. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. The little boys have got new motorbikes. They've got loads of money rolling in. Lots of people are giving them money because they feel sorry for them. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. If people want to give them money, that's up to them. I personally wouldn't, because I don't know what's going on here. I don't think you shouldn't donate to any proper authority or cause that are collecting for Summer, that it's going to go to those search teams. That's great if you can afford to make a donation for that, but I'm not sure about donating to the parents, especially if they're trying to profit out of their daughter's disappearance. So I'm going to be listening to this interview again. I have listened to it 4 or 5 times now, but I'm going to be taking notes and doing another video on it if there's other bits that I've not covered today, because I'm aware that there are a lot of things that I heard that have made me think this, made me think that, made me more confused than I was already, which I didn't think was possible in this very bizarre case. But I will keep you updated as and when there's more news. I think, like I said, there is going to be a break in this case. I've got a couple of other videos already in my bank that I've already edited that I'm hoping to get out for you later today. This video is probably going to be with you guys on Saturday this week, so I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the case. As always, I want to know your thoughts on the case. What do you think the hell is going on here? Do you believe Hunter? Pop your comments below. Do you not believe Hunter? Why? Let me know. Do you definitely think now that the parents are involved? Do you think Don was at work? Why do you think he wouldn't have been at work? Was it that both parents were involved? I don't understand what's gone on here. Do you think it was something that was done on purpose? Do you think it was an accident that was covered up, which is what I've always believed? But now I'm wondering, was something with the drug underworld at play here? And did Candus have a drug debt that was paid off with Summer? I mean, as I've said in all my other videos, guys, I hope I'm wrong on my thoughts. I'm hoping and I'm praying for Summer Wells' safe return. I hope she hasn't come to harm. I hope her parents haven't done something here sinister. I really do, but it's not looking good. I do believe what Hunter said, as I told you earlier in the video. I do not detect deception from him. I know some people have, but I don't. That's my personal opinion as always, guys. And from day one, I've always detected deception from Candus and also from Don. So please keep popping your comments below, guys, and sharing your thoughts and views on this case with me. I know there's a lot of comments I haven't got back to, but because I've got a full-time job as well as my channel, I don't always get time every day to get through all the comments, but I'm really hoping this weekend to be getting back to you all on my computer. Don't know why I need to show you the keyboard, but there you go. I will get back to you, I promise. But yeah, share your thoughts and views. Keep talking to each other. You might be able to come up with a good suggestion here as to, you know, how the hell this has happened, what's happened, and how they're going to find Summer Wells. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you're all keeping well and staying safe. As I said before, I will be keeping my beady eye on this case, and I'll be doing many more videos on it as and when there is news. I will be getting out a good 2 or 3 videos about the case over this weekend, and I'm going to have plenty more videos next week. So I hope you've been enjoying my content. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Hello and welcome to my true crime family. As always, guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll be back very soon with another true crime video. Bye for now.